Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, The Sunday Cook. Christmas was wonderful, and I hope that it was wonderful for you. And the festive season was full of joy and full of food and full of festivities, and we still have a little bit of festivity left as we are about to prepare ourselves to usher in the new year. Many of you, you'll probably be going out into town, painting the town red, going to a bar or a nice restaurant to celebrate the start of the new year. But I'm sure some of you would have experienced what I've experienced over the last couple of years. We used to go out, and actually now, well, we much rather stay in the comfort of our own home. The bar is full of people. You get to your bar, you're standing in a queue trying to get the bartender's attention for a drink, you're not getting anywhere. And then the next thing you know it, they're counting down to the new year and you still don't have a drink. And you're being shoved and pushed and shoved and pushed, and you can't hear yourself think, and you certainly can't hear any conversation that you're having with your friends or whoever it is that you're with. So for the last couple of years, my husband and I decided that we were not going to be going out for New Year's Eve. A, it's far too expensive. Secondly, half the time, because it's London, it's raining. This year, we are just spending it together, so just the two of us. If you are throwing a dinner party, you would have already planned out your menu. I've come up with a wonderful little menu. Menu planning is really important. Most people tend to, not everybody, but most people tend to put a lot of attention, a lot of focus and their creativity into the main course. They forget that there's actually a starter and a dessert to create as well. And for today's episode, we're going to be focusing purely on the starter. The starter, to me at least, is, the beginning of a culinary experience. It's the introduction to what that experience is going to entail, and it really sets the scene. It's kind of like an introduction to a really good book, or when you flip through the program of a theater production, and you're kind of like, ooh, you're flipping through and you're going, oh my god, this is going to be such an amazing show, because I just want to set the perfect scene. I'm going to be utilizing a bunch of ingredients, but two are going to actually be the star of the show. And these are two ingredients that I wouldn't necessarily be buying every day. For one, I can't afford it, and secondly, I'd much rather reserve it for, those very special occasions with special people. Yeah, like my husband. So those two ingredients that I'm talking about is the foie gras and the black truffle. And I'm going to be making foie gras and black truffle cappuccino with a mulled ginger beer gelée or jelly. Stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you want to see more, I'd love to hear and read your comments. Oh, and if you happen to make this recipe at some point, then please take a photo or a little video and then tag me and post it on Instagram. I'd love to see your work. I'm always excited when I see people replicating some of the dishes or using elements of some of the recipes that I've posted on my channel. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram as well. I'll make sure that there's the link to my Instagram account in the description box below. So now let's turn our attention to the recipe. So this recipe is made up of 3 different components. So we first start with the ginger beer gelée or jelly, and the 2 ingredients that you need there is a bottle of ginger beer and a pack of mulling spices, as well as a gelatin leaf that you can let soak in some cold water ahead of time. So as you can see, I'm just pouring my ginger beer into my saucepan and bringing it to a gentle simmer. Then I'm gonna add my spices, and I'm gonna let that simmer on a very low heat for about an hour, or at least until it reduces by half. I've also added 2 pieces of orange zest to just give it that citrusy edge. And I feel these ingredients go so well with the foie gras, because the foie gras is actually quite rich, buttery, and the acidity and the sweetness will just cut through. So now we turn our attention to the second part, which is the velouté for the cappuccino bit. And here are the ingredients that I'm going to be using. So there's milk, semi-skimmed, chestnuts, parsnip, chicken stock, and obviously a lobe of foie gras, or a third of a lobe, some fresh black winter truffle, and a bit of garlic that I've finely sliced. So after peeling my parsnip, I'm going to dice it up into equal-sized cubes, or as equal as possible. This will allow me for the parsnip to cook through at the same time. And I'm going to place that into my saucepan along with the, what are they called? The chestnuts and the milk. And then you'll see I'm going to add my chicken stock. This is a low sodium chicken stock that I use. I prefer low sodium because then I can adjust the seasoning later. And then I've added my garlic, and I'm going to use a few pieces of truffle. I'm using this mandolin, which Dwayne got me for Christmas this year, and I'm in love with it. And actually, you can use it for a whole bunch of other things as well, which you'll see at towards the end of the video. So I've sliced my foie gras into 3 pieces, just because it'll be easier for it to cook through evenly. And I'm basically poaching it into the liquid that's in the pot. You'll know that it's ready when the foie gras turns a slightly different color, and also it will be a little bit sort of, the texture changes. Before it's cooked, it's actually quite firm, and then it becomes really soft. And then I've just checked my parsnip to make sure that it was cooked through, and it is. So I'm using my immersion blender to blend it into a really smooth, rich, kind of like a soup. And then lastly, I'm just going to taste and then season. I've tasted it, so it needs a little bit of seasoning. And that's why I've used low sodium chicken stock, so that I can really just adjust the seasoning at the end of the process. So the next stage is, because it is a starter, so you'll probably turn your attention to preparing the rest of your meal. So I'm gonna make a cartouche. Now a cartouche is made of a, I use greaseproof paper, and you basically fold it into half, and then you fold it again, and then you fold it into kind of like a wedge, and then you cut into the dimension that you need, and then you place it on top, and that prevents a skin from forming. Now stage 3 is creating the garnish. So here I'm using ready-made puff pastry. Yes, I know. I just didn't have time. And why? It's not cheating. It's just making it simpler for yourself, really. So I'm using puff pastry, which I'm going to put between 2 sheets of greaseproof paper and laid on 1 baking sheet and then another baking sheet on top. I don't actually want it to rise, so that's why I've put the 2 the cast iron dishes on top, and I've placed that in the oven, and I've cooked them through until they were nice and golden brown. And then with the jelly would have set in the oven, in the a refrigerator overnight, and I've just put a dollop of it in the center, and now I'm assembling it with some radish. Now, to slice a radish, I don't know if you noticed, but it's wafer thin. In fact, it's so thin you can see through it. I've actually used the same mandolin that I use to shave my truffle. And I've just layered it. I could have probably layered it a little bit more neatly, but you know what, I thought I'd go for something a little bit more casual. And unfortunately I couldn't find any micro leaves, so I had to improvise a little bit. And I said to Dwayne when I showed him the first couple footage, I said to him, I love you that much that I'm going to segment the little, you know, the little, I don't know what you call them, the little segment of a blackberry just for you. Anyways, so here, now it's time to assemble. So with your liquid, it should serve, I mean, these were rather generous portions, admittedly. It's perfect for 4 people. You can serve them into bowls as well. But here I've served them in a glass. And I've filled the glass about just under 3/4. And then the rest of the liquid you'll see is going to be used to create a foam, you know, just like a cappuccino. Make sure that you clean up your glass so that it's nice and pristine, just for presentation purposes. So I'm using a siphon. So I've never actually used one of those before, and I went on eBay, on Amazon, and I found this one, and it was actually pretty cool. It's typically used for things like, you know, you put cream in, and then you get whipped cream out of it. So I'm using it with a hot liquid, obviously. And you pop in your little canister of gas, and then you put it into the little opening thing, and then you hear it go psh. It's so much fun. And then what you do is you give it a good shake for a few seconds, like about 30 seconds, and that'll just aerate the liquid. Shake, 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 shake. So that aerates the liquid, and then I test it first before putting it on the finished dish. I test it on a little plate, and as you can see, it's foaming a little bit, and it's a perfect consistency to create that lightness and that airiness. There you go. So now I'm topping the liquid up with the foam. And then lastly, I'm going to shave in a few more pieces of that glorious black truffle. Je nage dans le bonheur. Now the pastry lids basically go on top, and the idea is that when you serve it to the person and you lift the lid, your senses are hit with that perfume of the richness of the foie gras, the earthiness of the black truffle, and yeah, and it just makes you want to dive in. You a very happy new year, and I hope that 2019 brings you a whole load of joy, a whole load of exquisite culinary experiences, and I can't wait to see you in the new year. Take care. Je nage dans le bonheur.